Hello and welcome back. And today we're talking about types of joins. Now, joins are operations that are performed on tables in relational databases. So you would perform them in SQL, Microsoft SQL, in Oracle, in MySQL, in many different platforms where the data is stored in a structured format. So let's have a look at some joins and understand how exactly they work. To start off with, let's assume that we have two tables, table A and table B. And in our example, table A will have the following rows. It's got three columns, customer, gender, and age. And it's basically a table that is describing our customers. So we've got 5 customers, Adam, Benjamin, Jack, Nick, and Susan. We've got their genders listed and their ages. Now, if we go to table B, it's a table of employees of a certain store, of our store basically. So it's got the employee name, the title, and the wage. And so what we're going to try and do is we're going to try and find out which of our customers are also our employees. So basically, where do we have matching rows in these two tables? And how are we going to do that? Well, basically, if we look at the tables, we can see right away that Jack and Susan both appear in the customer and in the employee tables. So how do we do this from an SQL perspective, or basically from a joining perspective? Well, if we start off with an inner join, then let's have a look at how it will work. An inner join will take the two tables and it will look at only their intersect. So basically, if we're joining our tables on customer equals employee, then and it's an inner join, then the remaining rows will only be the matching rows. So in this case, Jack is matched with Jack and Susan is matched with Susan, because we're just looking at the customer column in the left table and at the employee column in the right table. So once that matching is done, the rest of the rows which haven't matched are discarded, and the remaining table looks like this. So it only has those rows that match and kind of glues them together. And that's it. That's what the result of an inner join on these two tables would look like. Now let's have a look at a left join. So there's a few different types of joins. Now we're going to proceed to the next one, which is called a left outer join. And in short, it can also be called a left join. So a left join basically says that the primary table is the one on the left. Once again, we're joining on the first column of the first table. Customer equals to the first column of the second table, which is employee. And since the left table is the primary one, rows cannot be discarded from the left table. Rows will only be discarded from the non-primary table. So here, Jack is matched with Jack, Susan is matched with Susan again, and then the rest of the rows in the second table are discarded because they didn't have a match. And so the resulting table will look like this. Where there was a match, the rows are glued together, and where there was no match, the associated columns are left blank, or some in SQL basically those columns will be nulled. So let's just keep them blank for now. That's how a left join works, and basically the main idea here is that the table on the left of the join is considered to be the primary table, and therefore rows cannot be discarded from that table. Now let's have a look at a right join. A right join works in a very similar way, but on this, in this case, the table on the right is the primary table. So once again, Jack is matched to Jack, Susan is matched to Susan, and the rest of the rows in the left table are discarded because it is the secondary table, it's not the primary. Rows in the primary table, on the other hand, cannot be discarded. So the final result here is a table which looks like this. Once again, the two sets of columns have been glued together, and where there was no match on the left, the values in the columns are left blank or nulled. And finally, let's have a look at a full outer join. So in a full outer join, we're looking at the union of the two tables, or probably union is not the right word. We're looking at all of the rows in the two tables, and that's why you see those two circles in the Venn diagram up at the top fully yellow. And that means that we cannot discard, or the join will not discard any of the rows in any of the two tables. Once again, we're looking for matches. So Jack is matched with Jack, Susan is matched with Susan. And then what happens is no rows are discarded and the tables are glued together. And that is what the final result looks like. So on the right, there's blank spaces where there was no match to the table on the left, and on the left there's blank spaces where there was no match to the table on the right. So once again, I'll just go back to the previous slide, and here you will see the two tables separately. And now after the join, this is what the final table will look like. So that's how a full outer join works. And now let's just quickly recap on the types of joins that we discussed. So we had a look at 4 different joins. The inner join, which only looks at the matching rows. The left join, which keeps the table on the left as the primary table. The right join, which keeps the table on the right as the primary table. And the full join, or the full outer join, which does not discard any rows from any of the tables. So in your work, you're probably going to be using inner joins and left joins mostly, and that is because right joins are rarely used simply because a right join is the same as a left join, just the tables, you just have to switch the tables around. So put the one on the right on the left and the one that was on the left on the right, and you'll get a left join once again. So most of the time, well, personally I use inner joins and left joins. Sometimes you'll rarely find that people do require full joins for the task at hand. So those were the type of joins, and that brings us to the conclusion of today's tutorial, and I look forward to seeing you next time.